After spending the better half of a decade getting my hands on pretty much any book I could on the subject of discipline and becoming obsessed with developing and growing my discipline muscle, I've realized, like with pretty much anything else, that it's often the small things that make the most difference. That's why in this video, we're going to talk about 5 simple habits that we can start taking today to 10x our discipline. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jorge Calaus. I'm a business lawyer based in Florida, specializing in high-stakes lawsuits. And in this channel, we explore the principles and the strategies to help us live more productive, meaningful, and fulfilling lives. Discipline habit number 1 is to schedule deep work sessions during your peak hours. Now, I mentioned this in my previous video about how different people have different peak hours during the day based in part on their chronotypes, in other words, their circadian rhythm, aka when their body naturally wakes up and when their body naturally goes to sleep. And so for me personally, my peak hours are between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. After experimenting with a bunch of different habits and routines, I have found that that is the time period where I'm most productive. And so what I've done is that I schedule my deep work sessions during that time frame. And when I say deep work sessions, I mean sessions of work where I am not interrupted whatsoever. Sessions of work where my phone is not buzzing, my email is not buzzing, and it's just me and whatever task or tasks I have in front of me. Now, this specific time period works really well for me because most people start work and start emailing and start calling around 9. Oftentimes, they don't start doing it until about 10 because people start to get situated into work. But from 7:30 to 10 a.m. is where I have found that I do my best work. And so I make sure to schedule my deep work sessions during that time period. If you want to learn more about deep work sessions, make sure to check out Cal Newport's book called Deep Work. Discipline habit number 2, make your bed in the morning. Now, I know you've heard this a million times before, but the reason you've heard it a million times before is because there is a lot of power behind not specifically making your bed in the morning, but the principles behind making your bed in the morning and what making your bed in the morning and those types of habits and those types of routines give you. Maybe you've heard Jordan Peterson talk about this. I think in his book, 12 Rules for Life, it's rule number 1 is to make your bed in the morning, or it might be a different rule. I think rule number 1 might be stand up straight. But regardless, he talks about this a lot, and I myself am also a big believer in this concept. The idea is that you're starting the day with small, manageable tasks. In other words, you are starting the day by mastering the basics and bringing order into your life, or otherwise imposing order upon the natural chaos that exists in life. And so when you start the day by imposing order on chaos, that sets the momentum for the rest of the day that you are going to be an orderly human being and that you are going to spend the rest of the day building that momentum from that one small piece of discipline that you exercised at the very beginning of the day. Because honestly, if you can take time out of your morning right when you get out of bed, when you're feeling the most groggy and when you're feeling the worst and when you're basically still asleep, if you can take time out of your day during that period to make your bed, it reinforces into your brain that you are worth taking care of. And so for the rest of the day, you build that momentum, and when things get hard, you remind yourself, your subconscious mind reminds itself, hey, I am worth taking care of. I'm going to do these things because they are going to make me a better person. They are going to make my life easier, and so on and so forth. It's also a way of focusing on what you can control, which is making your bed. That is something that you control. And so you start the day by communicating to your subconscious mind that you are in control. And like I mentioned before, it also communicates a certain level of self-respect to your subconscious because it communicates to your subconscious mind that you are somebody worth taking care of. And also at the end of the day, even if you had a really rough day, at least you get to come home to a bed that is already made. So if you have a great day and you come home and your bed is made, you go, that's awesome. And if you have a crappy day and you come home and your bed is made, you go, well, at least my bed is made. That's nice. I did something nice today. Something good happened today. But anyways, my point is that no matter how your day goes, you have a win from the very beginning of the day that you get to enjoy at the very end of the day. If this concept of starting your day off right interests you, I'll link a video I made about my morning routine and how you can create your own morning routine. Discipline habit number 3 is similar to discipline habit number 2, which is daily micro challenges. A daily micro challenge is something difficult yet small that you set out to do for that day. A good example of this is making your bed in the morning. But you don't have to limit it to just one daily micro challenge. If you feel like your discipline muscle is very weak right now, definitely start with maybe just 1, maybe 2. In other words, don't just throw a bunch of daily micro challenges into your day because it's going to overwhelm you and then you're going to get disappointed and then you're going to give up. But if you feel like your discipline muscle is a little bit stronger at this point in your life, you can implement multiple multiple daily micro challenges into your day. So this can look like making your bed. It can look like not going on your phone for the first hour of the day. It can look like making sure you go on your morning walk. It can look like making sure that you take your supplements or your greens. It can look like making sure you call your mom. And it can also look like something that I talk about quite often, which is the 1 minute rule, which basically states that if something takes you less than 1 minute to do it, just do it. And so during those peak hours that we were talking about earlier, this is one of those things that you can do. If you have a lot of things that are piled up and they each take less than 1 minute to do, you can knock them off, knock them off, knock them off, knock them off. And so what that's going to do is it's going to reduce the amount of bandwidth that is being taken up in your mind. And so now with a reduced bandwidth, it's easier to exercise your discipline muscle because that bandwidth is not pushing against your discipline muscle. If this concept of mental bandwidth interests you, I'll put a link up here about the video that I made on mental bandwidth. In other words, what it is, how we can manage it, etc. Discipline habit number 4 is the 5-second rule. Now, this is something that Mel Robbins wrote an entire book on, and I will give you the full disclaimer that I actually have not read this book yet, but my understanding of the 5-second rule, as far as I understand it, is that it basically states that when you feel like you have to do something and you don't want to do it, count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go do it. Now, the reason this works is because the longer you put off doing something, the harder it is to do that thing. And so if you just count 5 seconds, you just compose yourself and then you go do it, you kill the monster while it's small instead of letting it grow into this giant thing. Now, this can also be another form of a daily micro challenge. You can set a daily micro challenge in your day that you're going to implement the 5-second rule every single time that you feel a strong sense of resistance. Now, one thing that I love to keep in mind is that the harder it is to do something, the more resistance I feel, the more I have to do the thing. And the reason for that is that the more resistance that I feel, the more my inner demons are talking to me and trying to keep me from doing the thing that I know that I have to do. And so the louder those inner demons are, the better it is when I tell them to shut up, and when I put them in their place, the more power I gain over those inner demons. And the more power I have over my inner demons, the better life I'm gonna live. It's like that old Tony Robbins quote that goes, "It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped." And in my opinion, the harder the decision, the more impactful the decision. And finally, discipline habit number 5 is to reflect and journal every night. Now, you can do this in the morning, you can do this in the afternoon, you can do this whenever you want. But the point is that journaling, among other things, is another act of discipline that builds your discipline muscle. But that's not the only benefit that journaling has. So number 1, it builds your discipline muscle, especially if you're like me and you really don't like to write for long periods of time because your hand starts to hurt. So number 1, it builds your discipline muscle. Number 2, depending on whether you do it at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, if you do it at the end of the day, it allows you to reassess and readjust. It allows you to take some time to think about how the day went and where you went wrong and what went right. And so that way you're not just go all the time. You have the ability to step back and reassess and readjust so that the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, you have the ability to do things even better instead of doing them the same way all the time and just being this runaway train that never really stops to take a look at the tracks to see how it can maybe go faster if it changes these gears or whatever. The metaphor is kind of falling apart at this point. But the point is that it allows you to reassess and readjust so you're not just go all the time. One of the problems with being go all the time and never taking a step back to reflect and readjust is that you might end up in a situation or a place that you don't want to be in. And so you might have at the beginning started by saying, hey, I want to get to this place, but that place took you 3 years to get to, and a year and a half in, you realize that that's not even the place that you wanted to go to. You actually wanted to pivot and end up in this other place, but you didn't realize that because you never took the time to step back and reflect. Conversely, if you do it in the morning, it allows you to set the intention for the day. You can write down the intention for that day. You can write down the things that you are grateful for. And so now you start the day off with intention and with gratitude, which is going to take some of the load off your discipline muscles so your discipline muscles can lift more weight. And so you can overall just have a better day. And finally, number 3, journaling has a lot of mental health benefits. A lot of people say, and it makes a lot of sense, that when you put it on paper, it gets out of your mind. So once it's out of your mind, it's not running in circles in your mind, taking up space, creating anxiety, creating whatever. Now it's on the paper, it's out of your mind. The space has been created in your mind for you to do something else, to think about something else instead of the problems that are bothering you. In other words, when you put it on the paper, it takes the load off your mind. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll really enjoy this video right here on 5 1-minute habits that 10x'd my focus. And as always, if you enjoy this content and want to join the community, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out the link in the description box below where you can sign up for my weekly email newsletter where I send you content like this every Monday via email to get you started for the week. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video.